Good morning, students. In today's video, we will discuss about lesson 4, Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Troveroy from the book Hornbill. Nathalie Troveroy, she is an art historian who came in limelight because of her translated work City of Janes, a book by William Dalrymple. She is the wife of Belgian ambassador to India, so she got the opportunity to travel various cities of the world with her husband. She holds a master's degree in history of art and archaeology from University of Belgium. She in present she is planning to write her next book on old Delhi architecture like Jama Masjid and Chandni Chowk. About the lesson. The present lesson comprises of two parts. The author has taken the first part from the landscape of the soul, ethics and spirituality in Chinese painting, whereas the second part has been derived from getting inside outside art. Getting Inside. It is an article that was published in the Hindustan Times in 2005. It is written by Brinda Suri. This lesson deals with a comparative study of European and Chinese paintings. For European, we can use the word Western also, and for Chinese, we can use the word Asian paintings also. This lesson has three important areas of discussion. First part, it is related to the stories which are from Chinese and European paintings. Second, Daoism, and in third part, how one of the philosophical doctrines of Daoism called Shen Shui is reflected in Chinese paintings. Students, you are supposed to read these difficult phrases before reading this lesson. Figurative painting, delicate realism, conceptual space, anecdote, illusionistic likeness. These phrases are very, very important. Let's start with the summary of this lesson. As I told you that this lesson is divided into three parts. In first part, now we are discussing about first part. The first part deals with the art of painting. There is mention of two stories in it. The first story is about Wu Daozi, a famous Chinese painter who lived in the 8th century. He was a master painter and had been commissioned by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong to adorn his palace wall. As you can see in the slide also, on one side there is the picture of Wu Daozi, a Chinese painter, and on other side there is the picture of the Emperor Xuanzong, who ordered the Chinese painter to prepare to create a landscape to decorate his palace wall. He made a beautiful painting with high mountains, forests, waterfalls, clouds floating in clear, big blue sky, men walking and working on hilly paths, birds in flight, and a cave situated at the foot of the mountain where dwelt a spirit. As the painter was showing the painting to the emperor, he clapped hands and the entrance to the cave opened. Then he narrated the story to the emperor that, Your Majesty, the inside of this cave is very splendid, beyond anything words can convey. Please let me show your majesty the way to the cave. Then the painter he got in and disappeared. The painting too disappeared from the palace wall, and after that, Wu Daozi never came out. My dear students, can it happen in reality? It was all just because of the painter's imagination. It was the power of mind. And such tales are very common in China's classical education. Great masters like Confucius, they made abstract concepts concrete through such stories. Such stories reveal that art has an inner life, meaning, or soul. Means there is a soul in art. And only when one is able to see that inner life that exists in the art, only then he can understand the true meaning of art. Now, there is the another story. In another famous story, a famous it is also from the Chinese paintings, that a famous Chinese painter he refused to draw the eye of a dragon he had painted for the feared. For he feared it would fly out of the painting. So, in both the stories, we can see that the it is only painter's imagination, painter's power of mind that could make the things real. As in the first story, the emperor had appreciated the painting only externally. He could see the body of the painting only. The painter showed him, but it was only the painter who showed him the soul, the inner life, and the meaning of the painting. Art and artist both are one. It is only artist who can see the ways to analyze the art. And now there is the description of third story, and that is related to European paintings. And they believe in illusionistic reality. It means they just create the replica of the real picture, and they create the picture in such a way that it seems like a real one. That we will discuss through this story. The third story in the first part is about uh, a master blacksmith called Quinton Matses. He fell in love with the painter's daughter, but the father would not accept his son in law in such a profession. However, later on, the painter had to accept Quinton Matses as his son in law because he painted a fly on his panel with such delicate realism that it looked real one. It means it is the example of European painting in which the painters create the piece of work in such a way that it seems or it appears like the real one. So, from both the examples of the from of both paintings, we can easily infer, we can easily conclude the comparison between Chinese art and European art. Chinese art, it is a classical Chinese landscape that is not meant to reproduce an actual view, whereas on in European landscape painting, what is expected from the painter? He reproduces the actual scene. Suppose if some painter has made the portrait of or the sketch of Lata Mangeshkar, then for all the onlookers, it will be Lata Mangeshkar only, and the onlookers will observe that portrait from single point of view, and that point of view will be of the painter. Okay. And Chinese painter doesn't choose a single viewpoint. As I told you, that European painters, they will adopt only a single viewpoint, but it will not happen in Chinese, because a Chinese painting can be uh, analyzed from any angle. As you can see in the next slide, on one side there is Chinese landscape, and on the another there is Western landscape. When you will see at the Chinese landscape, then different onlookers will have different views about this painting. But when we will look at the Western landscape, European painting, then it will clearly mention that there is river, grass, trees, clouds, and for every onlooker the description of this picture will be the same. It means they will observe this picture from a single point of view, whereas we will get different views for the Chinese landscape painting. uh, in Chinese painting, landscape is not the real one, and you can enter it from any point and then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a comfortable movement. The Chinese painter doesn't want you to borrow his eyes. He wants you to enter his mind. If we have to understand the inner recesses of the art, then we have to we have to move into the painter's mind, not into the painter's eyes. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. And the landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space in the Chinese painting. What is the conceptual? It refers to the relation with abstract than the factual representation. It means whatever you will feel in the Chinese painting, that would be abstract, that you can just feel. You can't touch, you can't uh, see the you can't touch, you will just feel. And in European landscape, it is a perfect illusionistic likeness, means it is the replica of the real one. It symbolizes the real painting, and the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes, not the mind, but his eyes, and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. So, this was the difference between Chinese art and European art. Now, Chinese paintings. These paintings are based on the philosophy of Daoism. Dao means path or way, the way into the mystery of the universe. I repeat, the emperor in the first story, he may rule over territories, but the artist alone knows the way within. Life makes no meaning unless we undertake the inner spiritual journey. A Chinese painter, he wants the viewer to take plural viewpoints to enter into the painting and travel in it. He wants our active participation, not only physical but mental. And his landscape is a representation of an inner reality, a spiritual and conceptual space. Now, in Daoism, landscape is called Shen Shui. Whenever, beta, in real life also, whenever we draw landscape, then we give preference to mountains and water, water in the form of water bodies like rivers, streams, seas, etc. Okay, and this in Taoism that we have discussed earlier also, landscape that is used in Chinese painting also. Landscape is called shan shui, and this concept is expressed as shan shui, literally mountain water. As I told now, in landscape we use mountain and water both, which used together represent the word landscape. Landscape is incomplete without mountain and water, and this mountain water concept is also known as shen shui. More than two elements of an image, these represent two complementary poles, reflecting the Taoist view of the universe. As per the philosophy of Taoism, two elements are required for the creation of this universe. In the same way, two elements are required to create landscape. And what are those elements? Mountain plus water. And in reference to the Taoist view of the universe, what are those two contents, elements? Yang and yin. Yang means mountain reaching vertically towards heaven, stable, warm, and dry in the sun. And what is yin? Water which is horizontal and resting on the earth, fluid, moist, and cool. As you can see in the slide also, mountains are vertical and they are moving towards heaven, they are warm. On the other hand, water, it is on the rest position, it is on the earth, it is cool. Some of the common associations with yang and yin respectively are male and female. From the Taoist point of view, male and female both are required to create universe, and in Chinese painting, both yang and yin, mountain or water, both are required to create landscape. Male and female, light and dark, active and passive, motion and stillness. The yin and yang symbol represents the philosophy of balance, where two opposites coexist in harmony and are able to transmute into each other. In the yin yang symbol, there is a dot of yin in yang and dot of yang in yin. This symbolizes the interconnectedness of the opposite forces. Therefore, the independent principles of yin and yang are actually dependent on one another for each other's distinguishable existence. And in a landscape beta, empty space, we show empty space, and this empty space often indicates cloud mist. In Chinese landscape paintings, painters always leave their personal feelings and emotions into the image rather than just depict the details and exact appearance of the object. As a result, viewers can see a lot of white spaces and broad strokes on Chinese landscape, and it is also known as the middle place in the landscape. White space, it refers to the middle space, and this is the place where mountain and river, that is mountain and water, it appears to interact with each other. It is the meeting place of water and mountain. And this middle space in the landscape, it is compared with the practice of pranayam. What is often overlooked is an essential third element, the middle place, where the interaction of yang and yin, mountain and or water takes place. This can be compared with yogic practice of pranayam. In pranayam, we breathe in, then we we suspend the process of breathing, then we breathe out, and between breathe in and breathe out, that retaining process, that is called the middle space where the meditation occurs. And in the same way, in the landscape, the white space between the mountain and the river, it is the middle space, middle part where the interaction takes place. So this is the importance of middle space that represents the white space in the Chinese painting. And who is the messenger to create a balance between the heaven and the earth? It is man. Man is in the middle of nature and exchanges with her. Man is the center of life. The entire creation plan is incomplete without him. Man plays the key role in linking heaven and earth. He is the channel of communication between both the worlds. As human body is incomplete without the eye, so the entire creation is incomplete without man. Hence, the man is the eye of the landscape. Now, in second part, there is the description of outside art, and it was a French painter, Jean Dubuffet, who first created the concept of art brut or raw art in the 1940s. Then the art of the untrained visionary was of minority interest. The outside art has gradually become the fastest growing area of interest in international modern art. Raw art means the art which has been created by the artist with the help of raw material, waste material. And in this session, the author talks about the concept of art brut, which means the art of those who have no right to be artists as they have received no formal training, but yet show talent and artistic insight. They are artists who think out of the box. Their works are totally different from those of their predecessors. In simple words, this art can be called unorthodox art. In this section, the author talks about Nekchand's creation, his creation of Rock Garden at Chandigarh, that is an expression of art brut. The work of 80-year-old Nekchand is India's biggest contribution to outsider art. He has made a garden sculpted with stone and recycled material. It is known to the world today as the Rock Garden at Chandigarh. His art has been recognized as an outstanding testimony of the difference a single man can make when he lives his dream. So, this is the scene from the Rock Garden. So, my dear students, till now we have read about the comparison between Chinese art and European art. Then, how the concept of Daoism is related to the Chinese landscape of paintings. And in last part we have discussed about the art brut, which is the art of raw material for which the artists are not required to get any formal training. So, this is all about the lesson, and now we will discuss about the message. In the present story, the author has tried to convey to the world that the Europeans want a perfect illusionistic likeness. They want to create the replica of the real one, while in China it is the essence of inner life and spirit. In the Chinese story, only the artist knows the way within and he reaches his goal beyond material appearance. Unlike a Western figurative painting, a classical Chinese landscape doesn't reproduce any actual view and one can enter it from any point and travel in it. It requires the active participation of the viewer, both physically and mentally. Man becomes a channel of communication, only he is the eye of landscape. Now, for better understanding of this lesson, glossary is mentioned over here. So read out this vocabulary, it will help you a lot, my dear students. This lesson is a little bit tricky, difficult. So read this lesson only two or three, sorry. So read this lesson two or three times. It will help you a lot.